your direction, following with intention, deliberate in all your ways. I recall looking for confirmation through prayer and meditation, seeking to find your face. I'm totally free. Yeah, 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 yeah. Free indeed. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah. No more chains holding me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wanna sing hallelujah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm totally remember waiting for man's opinion, dealing with their dominion, hoping they'd show me the way. I recall looking for confirmation through prayer and meditation, desperately seeking your face. Now I'm totally free. Yeah, 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 yeah. Free indeed. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah. No more chains holding me. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah. Wanna sing hallelujah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm totally remember hearing your voice so familiar, distantly close, a healer, calling me by my name. I recall looking for confirmation through prayer and meditation, desperately seeking your face, making me totally free. Yeah, 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 yeah. Free indeed. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah. No more chains holding me. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah. Wanna sing hallelujah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm totally step go, that is.
Good evening, folks. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. What's up? What's up? Good to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming on. We're here for the March 24th edition of Ignite, which was a pastor's Bible study on Wednesday night. COVID hit. We took it online, and now I'm perpetrating as a talk show host, as a virtual talk show host. So that's how we end up with this, what we do on Wednesday nights. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I am multitasking tonight. Pastor Yolanda is not feeling well. Nichelle is busy trying to get things ready for Easter, for Resurrection Sunday. So we've got some amazing guests on tonight. So we're going to bring them on. I'm going to bring on the folks who are going to help me with our interview tonight. First of all, you have Tracy. I want to introduce you all. St. Mark crowd and all of our other folks who follow us. This is Tracy J from Houston, Texas. Hey, Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. And of course, St. Mark, you all know my little brother and St. Mark's good friend, Kai Greene out of Austin, Texas. Hey, say hello to everyone, Kai.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning in. It's going to be a great discussion.
Great discussion. Great. I'm so excited. That's why I'm so giddy, because I'm so excited about our guest for tonight. Just two people that I love, that I admire so greatly. So let me bring them on. Rudy and Juanita Rasmus. Welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Rudy. Thank y'all for coming on. I can't believe I got y'all on here, man. Like this is amazing. Unbelievable. How are y'all doing?
Doing great.
Excellent.
So now I'm gonna ask y'all, Juanita, I'm gonna do y'all like Rudy used to do me. back in a season of my life where he knew I was in torment.
Okay.
And Rudy would ask me, Robert, how you doing, man? And I would say, man, I'm good. And he said, Robert, how you really doing, bro?
Exactly.
But Juanita Rudy, I want to show y'all one of y'all's favorite person. This is the person y'all really like in the family. Linda, come on and say hello.
I don't know. What?
There you go.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rudy. Hi, Juanita, Tracy J, Kai.
Hey, Linda.
Good
Hey,
to see
hey,
you,
hey,
Linda.
Hey, it's so good to see the Rasmuses. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good,
we're
Linda.
doing
You know,
well.
and you can appreciate this. I promised Robert tonight that I wouldn't use any of those words that I have used in conversations with you before, at
Just a
times
few weeks
past.
ago, yes.
I don't know if you all have seen this piece on Instagram, but a little girl comes into the room where her mama's distracted on the phone, and she said, "Mama, can I say a bad word?" And her mama was a little distracted, and she said, "Mama, can I say a bad word?" And her mama said, "Yeah, girl, you go." And she turns around and she says, "You." But man, I loved it. Yeah.
She sent out a
Nice.
That's on
flurry of
Instagram.
words.
You need to tag me on that, man. Send that.
I will.
Woo.
It was too funny.
Send
I thought about you guys when I saw that. I want to say, Linda, can I say a bad word? Linda, can I say a bad word?
So, Juanita, I don't know if Rudy told you, but when we were in Houston a few weeks ago, I was in the car and he and Robert were doing their thing that they do when it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
And then Robert thought about that I was in the car and he was like, yeah, Rudy, by the way, Linda's here. But Rudy had been very good up until that point.
Oh, wow. And then he lost it once he was.
Then he felt obliged to
I understand.
be Rudy. So it's so great to see you guys. Juanita, I've been really enjoying your book ever since it came out.
Thank you.
It's normally on my nightstand. So it's wonderful. It's really been a blessing.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Linda is kind of she's the older child. Now she actually has an older sister, but her older sister is like 24 years older.
Okay.
24 years later, she's born, and then she has a sister who's a year behind. So she's the older kid.
I got you.
Person, yes, very much so.
Hey, I
y'all
get
it. So y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. It was good seeing you. I just
And
wanted to
you
come
too.
speak. Tracy J, it's great seeing you. Kai, I love you guys too. Have a good discussion. I'll go listen in with Kayla upstairs.
Love you, Linda. Thank you.
Bye. Good to see you.
You.
That's Pastor Yolanda. She must be.
Hey, Pastor Yolanda.
Tracy Drake said, Yolanda, you hear?
I can't hear you. You're breaking up. What'd you say?
Tracy J said they actually trusted you with this technology. So I was like, no, this is.
You would actually be surprised. He's pretty techie. He loves doing things on his own, and he does the majority of his own marketing. So.
You see what Kai just did? That's what I'm talking about right there, Juanita. That's what he does.
So Yolanda, I know that he likes to do things on his own, but he doesn't always execute them to the satisfaction of other people. So I'm just wondering. That's all. I was just wondering.
That's what I'm here for. He knows how to work it, but as far as multitasking with it, I mean, we all need a little help from our friends.
We all need a little help from our friends. I appreciate that.
As a matter of fact, I want to give a shout out to my dad. Mom, I hope you're watching tonight. My mom usually chimes in and that you tell Dad Rudy is on. Rudy, Juanita, is one of my dad's favorite people. So my dad, who's battling Parkinson's and early dementia, doesn't remember a lot about Houston, doesn't ask about Houston. The only person he asks about in Houston is Rudy. So he made a emotional connection with Rudy when the first time Rudy spoke at, I don't know if you remember, Juanita, we used to do a thing called E-Church, Leadership Conference.
Yeah.
And Rudy spoke. And so that day, Rudy did what Rudy does, the raw honesty, the transparency. And that day, I remember we laughed a little, we cried a little, we remembered a little, we visited. You just go through the whole range.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad was just, my dad doesn't, he doesn't have a lot of faith in preach. I mean, he ain't a big preacher He ain't but I just remember he because of the transparency and the humanity. And so he doesn't remember a lot about Houston, but he remembers Rudy. So he'll say, "How's Rudy doing? What's the name of the church?" And he'll say, "How's Rudy doing?" So he made a connection. But I get it now. As I've gotten older and I've matured and learned to live more into my humanity, and Tracy J is one of the people that she mentors me in that. Tracy encourages that in me, as a matter of fact.
That's a gift.
I understand why my dad attached her. There's Mom. There she is right there. Mom, why you type in your first name? She just typed in Ruth. Hey, Mom, tell Daddy Rudy Rasmus is on and his wife Juanita. So if you all get a chance to chime in. So thank you all so much for being here. So I have a question. I want to pick up what I was just talking about. Rudy and Juanita, one of the things you all have always done this. Like when I got to Windsor and I met you guys for the first time, and every time I was around you all, there was always this thing about raw honesty, transparency, no pretension, Juanita, so what I told myself back then was that they probably have to be that way because of the demographic that they work with. But what I've come to know is that that's just who y'all are. And I want to start right out. Would you all agree with that assessment of of you all being those kinds of people?
I'm going to say that what you said about our demographic, for me anyway, between Rudy and our demographic, they helped me become that.
Wow.
Yeah, most definitely.
Wow.
Now Rudy's always been butt naked raw.
Wow.
But he's helped me to value that. And I think it's made a significant difference in my ministry and in the way I try to really just live my life, because if I tell you that I had a mental health diagnosis and I'm living with it, you can't shame me.
Wow. So we already in it. We're already in it. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about right here. So I gotta say this, and Tracy, you and I, people do this at Windsor, a place that I love Pastor Kirby Johnson, because as a matter of fact, Kirby Johnson's coming on to do Good Friday with us next Friday, folks. So y'all get ready for that. But I know in my life, in my journey through the church, I'm run across a lot of people who are trying to do. Rudy, my mom says Daddy is watching. My dad's watching.
Hey, right on.
But I've run across people who have tried to operate in what they call a prophetic. They try to use this gift to dig into this, what they call supernatural gift of discernment. But I always felt vulnerable and visible and transparent in y'all's presence. And I think because when you are living in transparency and honesty, that it does give you a capacity to see beneath people's pretensions.
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing that I have always really practiced, it's just so much easier to be who you were the last time. It takes a lot of energy to remember, like, who was I when I was with that person the last time. So for me, I'm the same person regardless to who I'm with, and I can tell you that can be scary to a lot of people. But when it comes to discernment, Robert, the kind of discernment that that I have is interesting, but the kind of discernment I have is honed in childhood trauma. And when I think about, when I reflect on my childhood, I had good parents, but crap happens. And in the midst of, the one thing I've realized, so our daughter was molested when she was 4 years old by a family member at that time. Now I'm saying at that time, not because I killed that, but I'm saying at that time because in my mind and heart I've excommunicated. But what I realized from that experience is literally when you say I gotta trust you with God, I gotta trust my children with God. There is no way humanly possible to watch somebody 24 hours a day. And then, especially when you think you are trusting that person with a trusted family member, right? Or a trusted friend. So here I am, 64 years later, understanding what the byproduct of that trauma really produced. And it produced a brother who can see and know. I meet you, I got 15 seconds. Because you know what I know, man, you'll bring your representative to the conversation, but that representative cannot show up in the first 15 seconds. It just won't. The representative stands back and says, I'm going to stand here for a second and I'm going to observe who I'm engaging. But while the representative is observing who the representative is engaging, while at that same time, I've already made an assessment as to who the person is who brought that representative.
Wow.
Which has saved me a lot of time in my life, and especially in ministry. The reason my universe is so small and my crowd is so big, because I ain't got time for that bullshit.
Yeah. Wow. Juanita, you want to jump in?
No, I think he went head in.
All right.
Absolutely. So you all talk to us, and we'll get into the book. Talk to us about Bread of Life. I know there was a fire there. So what's the status of things? And give an initial reach out to folks listening, and then we'll come back and do it again at the end. What happened with the fire? What's going on with that? I know you all did some amazing work, by the way, during the cold weather. St. John, you all are.
Well, we've been on the ground, Robert, for 29 years.
Okay.
Really serving the needs of people who are in the throes of life's traumas. It just so happens that sometimes those traumas are affected by natural disasters. But sometimes those traumas just happen as a result of waking up one morning and realizing you're part of the human family. But the one thing that I have really learned in our work over these 29 years is, Christianity, if it doesn't have hands and feet and heart and eyes, then it could be a pretty empty experience for a lot of folk who are judging the experience. So yeah, for those who are listening, we have been helping 2,000 families a week since the beginning of the pandemic with basic necessities, with food and items that person would need to make it. Over the last month, we have also been distributing money. We have so far distributed $1 million to 1,000 people, $1,000 at a time, and going to do another $1 million in the process. But the reality is, in the midst of all that we have attempted to do, we had a fire on a Sunday night, and that fire destroyed our warehouse, which was the gymnasium at the church. And now we are looking to relocate. So if someone's out there with a big heart or even a deeper pocket, our website is Bread of Life Inc. That's breadoflifeinc.org. There's a donate link there, and you could reference this conversation. But definitely, we're in the thick of it and have been for a long time.
And Yolanda is going to put, if you'll type in Bread of Life Inc. and put that out and just place that in the comments, as well as put it on the screen, and folks can see that and make a contribution. We'll come back and talk more about that.
Okay, thank you.
And but thank you for sharing that. And I delight in your work. So the work that St. John St. John's does gives me hope about the church, because I'm kind of disillusioned about the church right now. And a lot of it has to do with the white evangelical church, but it's the church in general, though. I'm just kind of disillusioned about the church in general and looking for places of hope. I had a great conversation with about 70. I've been doing a racial justice seminar with about 70 Anglo Lutherans, Episcopalians. They spent 6 weeks, and 4 of those weeks was digging into the racial trauma, the history of racial trauma in America, and they laid in it. I thought after the first night they weren't going to come back. They came back every night.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
all said, we need more. We need more.
Yes.
And so at the end of the deal, I shared with them, with Rabbi Moti Reber, who leads Kansas Interfaith Action. I told them, I said, man, y'all gave me hope, because I'm looking for hope places. And that's one of my questions. Kai knows that I'm, every Wednesday night I'm asking folks, where are you finding hope in this thing with the church? And so, yeah. So I want to give Tracy and Kai a chance, if you all, and we'll dig into the book. Do you all want to jump in here in any way?
Well, I want to first of all say, I don't know if I've ever said this to Rudy and Juanita, but visiting St. John's for me was always like going to my auntie's house, right? It wasn't my home, but it felt like home when I got there. And I could just rest and relax and be myself. And I feel like I was going to get in trouble when I got there, right? That whatever I did that might not be okay wasn't going to make it back home. It was going to be safe there.
Yeah.
So St. John's has always been that for me. I am not a big fan of church right now. That's just my reality. I'm also not a big fan of people who claim to be Christian right now. But that's just my reality. I'm a big fan of people, though. I'm a big fan of love. I'm a big fan of honesty and authenticity. And what I know of the both of you, I get that, right? I get that you are human. I get that you show up with love first. I get that you believe in other humans. And so I'm grateful to be part of this conversation, because I love you. And I'm glad to be in spaces where you are.
Thank you.
Yes. Great statement. And I agree with you about what it feels like to go to St. John's. Kai, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, and I'll put my question here that it may make sense to address it later. But I mean, I'm really fascinated with the book. We're talking about this idea of learning to be. Much like what I'm hearing from these pastors here is that I have four principles I try to live by that I share all the time. Every day, give it all I have, right? Humility, authenticity, vulnerability, and encouragement. That's how I judge my day. And so when I heard Pastor Rudy earlier, he was just talking about this transparency and this authenticity. And his wife mentioned, she's like, I think that was just a part of who he's always been. So my question is for him, is that really the case, or is there some specific events that you can think about in your life that really got you comfortable with being vulnerable?
Yeah, I think
a great question, Kai.
So I'm 5'6".
He's 8 foot tall to me. Let me just say that. Let me just throw that out there.
So I'm 5'6", and in the big picture, I have always been short and without any visible gifts. No athletic ability. None of that stuff. So I'm a kid who was always on the outside looking in. I mean, always on the outside looking in, and who learned early on that the only way I was going to ultimately have my own circle is that I would have to create it. So from there, really early on in life, and people who've known me most of my life will tell you, I've been gang leading since I can remember, and really creating my universe, my people. And as a result, one thing that I learned early is that people gravitated to the authentic me, and I've always just welcomed people to the authentic me, knowing that there will be those who will reject the authentic me. There will be those who will question or attempt to marginalize the authentic me. But the people who are still standing, all right, after they get through with meeting the authentic me, those folk, those are the ones we can go take over the world with.
Yeah.
And that's what I have learned over the years, man. I call them fluffy Negroes. Fluffy Negroes can do what they want to do, but give me the folk who've been through something, who have been tried by fire, who have found themselves also on the outside looking in. And I guarantee you, there are far more of those than there are anybody else.
Yeah.
Proven by the fact that over the years, our crowd has always been big because our crowd has always been folk just like us, folk who have found themselves on the outside looking in. So yeah, man, that's a good question. But I just think really at the end of the day, if we can, those who are listening, if you can find your narrative, all right,
Yeah.
and really put your arms around your narrative, and honestly, just walk out into the world, into the streets, embracing your narrative, you're gonna find people are gonna be very receptive to who you authentically are.
Wow. Wow.
So I have a question for Juanita. So one of the things that struck me in the book, well, a few things struck me while I was reading. One was that I was like, wow, I resonate in so many places in this story. Just this idea that you have to be a particular way for people, and to not feel like it's okay to show up flawed as we are. But one of the concepts that struck me was this idea of being this hollow bunny. And so if you would share a little bit with people who are listening, the idea of the hollow bunny, I think that other people may find, who have not had a chance to read the book, may find some value in that.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah.
So let me ask this then. Let me ask this. I'm going to pull the rest of us off the screen. And Juanita, if you'll take some time and just kind of walk through the book in general, like give a general, and then end with come back to Tracy's question.
Okay.
So you want to take everybody else. Let's take everybody else off screen, and it'll just be, well, I can do it. I got it.
Well, thanks. Well, Learning to Be is really a combination of a memoir and a tool for empowering people who find themselves with the rug of life pulled from under their feet. Now, in my case, it was because of a mental health diagnosis. I experienced what my psychiatrist called a major depressive episode. But for others, it could be a divorce. It could be a dream that doesn't seem to get off the ground, or a career that's not satisfying and you find yourself hating to go to work every day. Or it could be COVID-19 and this quarantine that we've had to all live with. It could be living with this kind of social injustice that we're just constantly facing. Recently, especially, it just kind of stays in our face. It stays in the air. And so as I was writing the book, the intention was that so often when people are experiencing traumatic experiences that are debilitating in ways that they don't seem to be able to move forward, that too often we can feel suicidal. We can feel as though it can't get any better. This is the bottom. I might as well check out. In my case, I wasn't so much suicidal as in taking my own life, but I was having suicidal ideation. And so I kept expecting that somebody was going to kill me. And so that was just a part of what was happening to me mentally and emotionally. But what Learning to Be is a reality of is that I had built my life on doing. I had found my acceptance and approval on my ability to meet somebody else's expectations about what I needed to accomplish or how I needed to show up in the world. And so what I call the crash, my experience of recovering from this space of depression where I was literally sleeping 18 to 20 hours a day for months on end. And then I realized, my husband actually realized after about 2 weeks of me not being able to get out of bed, he said, baby, I think you need to see a doctor. And so I did. And I saw my primary care physician. We ruled out anything biological, hyper or hypothyroidism or diabetes or other things that might be biological in nature. And once we ruled all that out, she said, I think you really need to see a psychiatrist. And so I did. Many of us are experiencing places and spaces in our life where we find that the old ways of coping, the old ways of being, the old ways of showing up are empty and they just don't work for us anymore. When I talked about the hollow bunny, every Easter, my mother would buy my father and my sister and I a chocolate covered bunny. And of course, they come wrapped in really pretty, colorful foil. And, my dad got the big one in the big box, and my sister and I would get ours. And they were always beautiful. The box and the wrapping on the chocolate bunny was always so pretty. And I remember for a lot of years, those bunnies were solid. When you bit into them, it was a solid bunny in there. But then there came this time, and I assume it was just the candy companies figured out they didn't really have to show up the way they presented, right? And so you took the wrapping off that bunny and you bit into the ear and your teeth clammed together because it wasn't solid. Well, I found out that so much of who I had thought that I wasn't solid. After my experience of the diagnosis of depression, I realized that everything that I had been building my life on didn't really matter. It didn't really count. It didn't really, you see, we have to recognize that we are more than our roles. I am more than my husband's wife, my children's mother, my grandkids now, grandmother, my parents' daughter, my sister's sister. I am more than that because at any moment, roles can be stripped away from us. So who am I without a title? Who is that person? And often I've found that nobody really asks us, who are you? Who are you? Who are you really? And the only way that we can begin to really do that work is we have to be intentional. If you go to TED.com, you'll see my TED Talk. And I talk about this. You can also see it on my website at JuanitaRasmus.com. My TED Talk talks about how there's a construct called Johari's window. And it's basically you draw a window pane so that you have 4 spaces in that window pane, right? So one is the me I see, the other is the me others see. There's the me I don't want you to see. And then there's me that only the Creator sees. And most of us spend most of our time being the me that we want you to see, all right? Our facade, right? The me others see, which is their opinion of me, which ain't none of my business, which I've now figured out, right? Then there's that third part, the me that I don't want you to see. And in some cases, I haven't even seen. Excuse me, Jung calls it the shadow side. Now, the shadow isn't to say that it's bad. It's just to say that it's not always seen. It's not always integrated. It's not always understood for the gifts and treasures that it has to offer you as well. And so that fourth pain is the pain we spend or invest the least amount of our time and energy in. Why? Because nobody really checks us on who are you? Who are you really? When Rudy was talking about discernment, especially his gift of discernment, helps him to see who a person really is. So they might show up raggedy, as the old folks used to say, as cushaw guts, or they might show up dressed to the nines, but he sees them. He sees the soul inside, the nature of the person inside, the character of the person inside. And so the question, if learning to be could be boiled down to a question, it would be, who are you? Who are you? And then you get to answer by saying, I am one who. I'm one who is creative. I'm one who appreciates adventure. I am one who loves gardening. I am one who enjoys the sunshine shining on my body, especially after so many dark days and depression where I would walk outside, the sun would be bright and vibrantly shining, but I couldn't feel a thing because I was so shut down on the inside. Who are you? Then the second question, if I was to sum this book up, the second question is in the chapter that says want tos or have tos. That so many times we invest our lives doing the things we think we have to do. And that's usually, I remember my therapist telling me, asking me once, she said, Juanita, and just who are you having to do this for? Another way of thinking of it is, I should do this, or I should do that. And so who's the committee that we're shooting for? And so when we begin to ask ourselves, who am I? Then we begin to explore the aspects of ourselves that I believe that the Creator has put in all of us, that we are all like an accordion, and that our beautiful music really doesn't happen until we begin to experience our most expansive self. And sometimes that expansion comes because of a devastating experience. I talk in the book about gleaning our treasures out of the darkness. Most of us, when we look at the last job where we were fired from, or we look at the divorce that we've lived through, and we look at the death of a spouse, or the death of a parent, or the devastation of a dream falling apart before us, or filing chapter 13. Most of us don't stop and say, okay, now, what is in this that I need to pay attention to? What was in this experience that I really need to notice what I'm noticing about that? And learning to be was my response to the Spirit saying to me, pay attention, and I'll give you the treasures out of this darkness. And those treasures for me have just been transformative in my own life. And I've just been really grateful, Tracy, that it has been impactful in the lives of others as well.
In the words of Johnson, wow.
Yeah, man. So first of all, and I don't want to detract from what just happened. Our financial advisor, Vicki Dean Hunt, is watching. Vic, I'm just telling you right now, I think I should get a pay raise just for what y'all just saw. Just for exposing, just for what Juanita, just for exposing St. Mark to that.
And he deserves a pay raise.
There it is, right there.
Absolutely.
There it is. I can see Vicki Hunt right doing this, right, just like that. Yolanda, you know, Vicki is doing this. Just
he may deserve a pay raise, but how you gonna hijack Juanita's good words for your pay raise? How you gonna do that?
but,
what had happened was no.
Hey. Hey, we got to do what we got to do, Tracy. We gotta do it. But so the book is just laid out. So let me ask you, can you dig into a little more the whole concept of to be? I mean, you did it, but I want to give you just some more time if you want to.
Well, yeah, the key is this. We live in a Puritan society, or certainly a Puritan influenced society. And we have to remember that so much of our sense of identity not only comes from our family, the people who are responsible for our nurture and nature, the people who are responsible for the safe care and feeding of us, if you will, but it also comes from the broader society. And if we remember that many of the Europeans who came to America came as indentured servants, right? And then there was this Puritan faith belief, all of which was very rooted in, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that concept has just weighed in America. It's just like it's understood. It's the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, that each of us is trying to prove ourselves. Well, that kind of identity is also rooted in inadequacy, a sense of not being enough. So I've got to work hard. I've got to strive. I've got to use push energy to make something happen, to build a life. Now, all of that can sound fine and good, and certainly it can motivate us. But then after a while, who are you if you're not able to push, if you're not able to build, if you're not able to strive? And that's what happened for me, is that I was laying in the bed for months on end. I talk about how I was so debilitated that I couldn't even bathe and didn't even realize that the terrible stench that I would smell if I turned my head to the left, it was there. If I turned my head to the right, come to find out the stench was me. And to this day, I just honor my husband, and I'm so grateful. Rudy never once said to me, baby, you need to get out of bed and take a bath. He knew I couldn't get out of bed. There were times I couldn't even remember what it meant to get out of bed. I didn't know how to tell my brain to get my body physically out of the bed. And so when we focus our lives on doing and find ourselves in a place where we're unable to do, the question becomes, then who am I?
Yeah.
Right? And the reality is we were never designed to be human doings. The intent was always human beings. And that when we root and ground ourselves in our nature of being, then out of that, we get our marching orders for how we're to act in the world, right? How we're to serve in the world, how we're to show up in the world. But it's out of the sense, the deep, I love John 15. If you abide in me and my word abides in you. And then Jesus says, I abide in the Father and the Father abides in me and you abide in me. That sense of abiding, that for me always makes me think about when you put water in a vase. If you want to root something like a potato, right? You stick the toothpicks. Many of us did this as a science experiments in elementary. Stuck toothpicks in a potato. Then we stuck it in a container with water, and we would begin to see it create roots, and we would begin to see it flower at the top. That's what I'm talking about. Learning how to be. And then in the midst of the being, you begin to fruit. You begin to root because you have been established and grounded in life-giving water.
Yeah. Wow. Juanita, and I want you to see that comment. And Linda Sims, thank you so much. Linda Sims grasps that. She said she picked up on your comment, shut down on the inside. And I will tell you, so as I've experienced this kind of this awakening, this reawakening, this is just my assessment. I think that most people in churches are shut down on the inside, to the point that I feel like my calling is to help people come alive. And the best model for that for me is not a church person. I saw a video of thelonious monk that captured it for me. And he was in a club, and I had heard this about him, but I saw it. He was in a club, he was playing his music, and when he did his solo, he finished, and then somebody else picked up the solo, and he was so alive, he got up and danced to his own music. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't know if this guy's a Christian. I don't know if he's religious, but what he just did is what Jesus and Juanita, in my reading of the gospel, that's what Jesus was trying to make happen in every person he encountered. He was trying to make them come alive in that way, instead of what as you said, and Linda Sims, thank you for grasping that, being shut down on the inside. but Juanita, I guess that the crisis of the depression really was the doorway into, so that had to die. So our pretension,
Exactly.
yeah, that has to.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, don't discount your deaf stuff.
Wow.
Whatever
Wow.
your deaf stuff is.
Yolanda,
The
you
deaf
gotta
of a
please
relationship, the
type
deaf
that
of your
in.
finances.
I know
Don't
Yolanda's being
discount it.
blessed. She like, oh, don't bother me. I'm listening to. You gotta type it in. Don't repeat that one.
Don't discount your deaf stuff. And when I say deaf, I mean the loss of anything, the loss of a dream, the loss of a relationship, somebody stealing your car, your identity. Don't discount that. What is in it that is inviting you to come alive? As we were saying, I had to pull up this quote by Howard Thurman. I love this quote. He says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive."
And do that.
And go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive.
Alive, yes.
And that's one of the things I have always appreciated about Rudy.
Yes.
Rudy is alive, and he don't care if who around him ain't alive, right?
That's right.
His sense of freedom in many ways has given the good little girl in me permission to be a bad girl.
Right.
Right? Why? And what do I mean? Because somebody's getting ready to say, oh my God, what does that mean? Here's what I learned. That I had been living by all of these rules. I accepted Christ as a little girl in elementary school. I was probably in 3rd grade. Because of my personality type, I was taught there were 10 commandments. And in my head, I created 20 just to make sure I stayed within them 10, because that was the kind of person I was, right? And then I experienced this crash, and the Spirit begins to speak to me about what it means to be alive, right? And begins to tell me, Juanita, and I wrote about this in Learning to Be, it's not about the rules. It's about the relationship.
Yeah.
You see, because when I'm in relationship with you, and it's honest, and it's genuine, and it's authentic, there's some things I just won't do anyway.
Wow.
So it's not about, can I check off that I didn't kill, I didn't steal, I didn't covet my neighbor's anything. It's about being in relationship and living in such a way that I am so fully alive that I don't want your stuff. Yeah. But I want you to enjoy your stuff, and I'm going to celebrate you having your stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's this kind of aliveness that I remember telling Rudy at a pretty vulnerable point for me. I said, baby, when I get through this, I'm going some places.
Wow.
And I want you to come. But I was going to leave that decision up to him. Now, let me tell you one reason why that's important. It's important on several levels, but he can share his perspective, but this is one of them. Sometimes we experience these transformational, significant transformational spaces in our life. The world often calls them midlife crisis, right? Mm-hmm. But what I want to say to you is that you can survive your devastating, we'll call it midlife crisis, mental breakdown, whatever your situation is, and you can take your partner with you if they want to come.
Wow. Wow.
But it means that you will have to communicate with them what's shifting inside of you. And I think oftentimes, particularly for men, men are experiencing these transformative awarenesses. And I say especially men, only because we tend to think of men as having the midlife crisis. You know, it's so funny. Men have the midlife crisis and women have to go to the hospital. Right? And that's all societal, because it's okay for the man to have a midlife crisis, go buy a red sports car and get a new woman, right? But what does the woman do? What have we been given permission to do? Go to a hospital, get something taken out, get something removed, get something diagnosed. All right.
Wow. Wow.
And so it's critical
Wow.
that we pay attention to what is trying to awaken in us, what is trying to grow in us. So the second part of what the book is really saying, the first part is, who are you? And that's the work I want to encourage, since this is Bible study, your assignment,
Come on.
should you choose to accept it,
Come on.
is for
Come
the
on.
next 21 days, every day before you go to bed, take 5 minutes and write down in a big chief tablet. Some of y'all don't even know what that is. Write down who you think you are. Write it down. It said it takes 21 days to form a habit. In 21 days, I want you to know more about who you are than you know today.
Wow.
The second part of the book asks the question, and at the time I didn't know to phrase it this way, so I said, what do you want? Want tos versus have tos. What do you really want? Howard Thurman has a video, and I encourage you to Google it and look at it, and it's called, What Do You Really Want? You see, innately within all of us, the divine has created a want to. And there are various ways it shows up in the four key areas of our life: relationships, time and money freedom. Y'all write this down. I don't want you to forget it. This is valuable. I paid $150 an hour for my therapist for how many years? I'm still seeing my therapist, right? I'm giving this to you for free. You need to take notes. So the four key quadrants of our life are our time and money freedom, health and well-being, our relationships, and our vocation, our vocare, the way we're called to serve in the world. And so here is the crowning question for each of us to ask ourselves. In each of those four categories, what would I love?
Wow.
Who would I love? Now, here's what happens. Sometimes we get a breakthrough thought of something we would really love to do, and we say, oh, that's a good idea. We never validate it by writing it down. So then when the opportunity presents itself for us to engage in something we really want to do, we can't even remember what we wanted to do. I know this to be true because that's my own experience, right? And then, of course, if we don't know who we are and we're still functioning in our identity being rooted in our doing, then we push to the back burner everything that even begins to speak to us about longing, things we would long to do. And see, longing is one of the ways that the Spirit speaks to us. But remember, Spirit uses a still small voice and will not yell over the clutter and clatter of our minds, the noisiness in our hearts. And it'll just whisper every now and then, go fishing, go ride a hot air balloon, go take a little drive out to the country and get some fresh air. Go stay in a hotel for a few days. Girl, go get your nails done. Man, go get a pedicure so you can stop scratching your wife with your feet. All right, whatever. Go write a book. It could be anything. But it's the way the Spirit is inviting us to ignite our longing, the things that we would love to do. Too often we are waiting to pay off the mortgage, to get the kids grown, to finish paying off our college debt, or till retirement. COVID-19 is said to us tomorrow is not promised, and it don't matter how old you are, how much or how little money you have. So what would you love? What would you love? What would make you come alive in the area of relationships? Those of you who have a lifelong companion, what would tweak it a little bit? Every relationship needs some tweaking. Get taken to the next level, all right? And if you don't have a lifelong companion and you're longing for one, what would you love in a lifelong companion? Would you love a companion that when the meal is finished, y'all wash and dry the dishes together while you're listening to some good music and sipping on some good Jesus First Miracle? What would you love? Not what shows up conveniently, but what is it that would give you life, would make you come alive? So that's kind of what the second part of the book is about. tapping into what makes us come alive.
Wow.
I
Yeah, jump in,
mentioned
Tracy. Yeah, Tracy, Kai, Yolanda, you all jump in. Tracy, as you're talking, I do want to come back. I wanted you all to see this. Linda Sanders, you're just blessing me tonight with your transparency and your engagement, being a caregiver. And Linda Sanders has been a caregiver for her son, for multiple people in her family. She says has shut me down on the inside. Totally routine. I'm living and doing what a revelation, but that is going to change. God bless you. And wow. Sorry, Tracy, jump in.
that's okay. I was just gonna say, so I mentioned earlier that there was a lot of things that I resonated with in the book, and so one of them is that the life that you describe, this knowing what you love and living in that space is where I am. Like I say to people right now that I am in awe of my life.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I decided to let go of other people's expectations and other people's telling me who I am and knowing for myself who I am that I get to be in awe of my life. And so so as a witness to what you have shared, I just want to say to anybody else who needs another example of being your whole self and loving every minute of it, I am such a person. And I have never felt more whole, more happy, more joy, more love in my life than I do right now. So I just
And
want to
Tracy,
echo
thank you
what you
for
said.
that, for saying that you're loving your life. Because I believe the ultimate testimony for all of us is to be able to wake up in the morning and say, I love my life. And to go to bed at night saying, I love my life. Can't wait to get up in the morning to see what tomorrow's going to bring because I love my life.
Yeah, I love my life. And another thing that you mentioned earlier is about relationship, right? So I said earlier that I'm sort of disillusioned with church and with Christianity, but I'm not disillusioned with God, right? I'm not disillusioned with divinity, right? And I personally, I think that the role of religion should be relationship, that religion should be leading us to relationship. And then if it's not leading us to relationship, then it's just a codependent situation that we need to break free from. And so so I just want to be clear about that too, that like this relationship that I have with my creator, that so I get to see that fourth box, right? I get to see myself in the way that the creator sees me. And so it's nothing that can be explained unless you've done it.
Yeah. And it's work, you know, because it's been work to be sucked into a system that tells us we're inadequate and we don't have enough. That's work. You know, every day you turn on the TV or you go to social media and somebody is telling you why you need to buy something so you can be validated as a human being. When the reality is you got validated when that sperm hit that egg after 70,000 sperm had went after that egg. Come on, somebody. You got validated in that very moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Powerful stuff. As a matter of fact, I want to just and then Kai jump in. I just want to quickly just kind of tag off of Tracy and say, as a matter of fact, I would tell anybody. So some of you all, you love your church. That's where your mama went to church. That's where your big mama, Pookie and them went to church. But if your church is not a place that helps you come alive, if your church not only doesn't cultivate your humanity, but stifles it, and is more focused on turning you into a religious thing rather than a human being, then I want to encourage you. There's some churches out there that will help you do that. St. John's is one of them. So when I would go to St. John's, when I listen in on the broadcast, I'm not doing a religious thing. I'm doing a human thing. I'm doing a God thing. I'm doing a relationship thing. And it's like every time some more layers of pretension, more layers of false identity, more layers of all the junk that gets in the way of your man. It gets peeled off, and I get deeper to my core. So, find the church, find the community. You don't have to call it a church. Find the community that does that for you. Kai, I'm sorry, you wanted to jump in.
Oh yeah. So number one, thank you. I had to catch myself for a second because both my grandmothers are Kojic, and I thought their spirit grabbed me for a second because I about got up and took a lap real quick. But I wanted you to know I found your words to be so powerful. And then just to make this pivot, because we were talking about race a little bit, everything you talked about tonight, someone said, asked me, said, Kyron, when are you going to go do a church, man? When are you going to do that? So I feel like a corporate pastor right now, because as we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, when I'm having conversations with people, I am consistently trying to do what you're talking about. I'm trying to get them to talk about that fourth box. And I'm asking them, what are the norms that your tribe is driving home? What are your fears? Why are you clinging to those things? And here's what I love about Jesus. And you said it so right. Because when I get to be real with people, I can just tell them this. Jesus gives you the strength to face the fourth box.
Yeah.
Because I know that I don't have to fulfill that box. I'm not bound by that box.
Right.
But Christ gives us the confidence, right? That extra encouragement to say, you know what? We're going to open this door and see what's in here. And I'm going to help not take you around it. I'm going to help take you right through it, right? So much of what you said tonight resonated with me. I can't wait to finish this book and see if I can start recommending it to people as we're doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work. Yeah. Sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Juanita, they can see the book there in the background, but the book you can buy it anywhere. It's everywhere. You can buy it on Barnes and Nobles, Amazon.
It's even at Target and Walmart.
It's
now.
even at Target and Walmart now. Yeah.
It's on Audible too, isn't it?
Audible, the Audible version of it. And you are in is it the third printing, Juanita? Fourth printing. She's in her fourth printing. So we congratulate you on the success of the book. But that's a powerful book. It's a powerful work. And then powerful people behind the book. So it's 8:02. I just want to, at this point, just kind of leave some space open. Juanita, Rudy, for you all to just talk about anything else that you all just that's pressing on your heart that you want to say to us right now.
There's been some comment around church and the significance of church at this point. But if COVID-19 and the pandemic hadn't taught us anything else, and that is, there are some expressions of the ecclesia that we have just began to discover. Church as we know it today wasn't really a concept until the 14th or 15th century. So when we look at Jesus's dialogue with Peter, Matthew 16:18, upon this rock I will build my church. In chapter 17, we don't see a building fund. In chapter 18, we don't see the cranes coming in. Chapter 19, we don't see the mortgage being burned. What we do know is in the midst of this, Jesus probably had a very different idea in mind because we never see, imagine this, Jesus's intersection with the temple were always problematic. I mean, every time he was caught in the building, something was getting ready to go down, So when we think about this building, and how much emphasis we have placed on buildings, we know at that moment, there is something else happening that we're gonna have to really begin to take a look at. Now, if the church universal hadn't learned anything else in the last 12 months, that should be, if your building is only good for people to come sit down facing forward and listening to one person espouse some doggone ideas, all right, some theories,
Wow.
all right, some formulas, then your building probably doesn't have much value on the open market. I'm thinking right now. I'm telling people, begin to get this word in your spirit. Adaptive reuse.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
How we look at our facilities, the brick and the mortar, the stuff that we have always identified as our church. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I've been going to church for 12 months in my drawers. I love it. I mean, it has been phenomenal. I told my crew when we show up for in-person worship the first Sunday, I'm coming in my drawers. All right. I love it. It's I do believe, the fact that our income has been staying steady over the last 12 months. I do believe over the last 6 months, people have been paying me to not return to church as much. All right. That's what I'm believing. So I'm hearing you. I'm listening. I'm also looking and listening to the people who are saying, Pastor Rudy, when we gonna get back in the building? I want to take a real close look at the people who are saying, Pastor Rudy, when we gonna get back in the building? Because one thing we've got to do is look at it demographically in terms of what the building means to different segments of our community. In large cases, the building is attending, walking in, being in that space is significant to identity for a lot of people. Depending on who and where you are in broader society. At church, you might be, you might, but in the midst of that, the one thing that we know at St. John's is that that many people, if they don't get, if they aren't seen, like looked at, valued as a human being, acknowledged as a person of God, just validated as someone worth being loved. You walk into this building and everybody knows your name. If people are hugging you and and saying, "Man, I'm glad to see you," and then you leave that building, you go back to complete total obscurity for another 6 days. At that point, we realize church has a different meaning for different people at different places. Now, when we put, Kai, when we put this, you've been doing this work, in the multicultural space, but when we really began to begin to talk about the meaning of these buildings, all right, and began to acknowledge the fact that that the concept of private property was developed along the same timeline that race as a construct was being developed. Right? Private property and race were developed alongside of one another.
Yeah.
We began to unpack that, and we began to see why we have placed so much emphasis on our buildings. All right, because them same Puritans that Juanita has said, basically our Christianity is a derivative of that puritanical sensibility, which is that fake work hard, that fake be something, all of that crap, and even in the midst of it, that self-righteousness that too often our religiosity brings us into. But when we really began to put those constructs together and identify them for the beast that they really are. I don't know if you've ever been to Africa, but some of the best church I've ever experienced in my whole freaking life was under a tree. All right. And the whole congregation got together under that same tree every week. All right. Now they only got together every week because probably some Europeans came through and said, we just do this once a week because we really don't like God that much. All right. We'll hang out, right now. But in the midst of this, we realize that if we think about how, all of this, you got these Europeans, they come to the New World and they literally claim it. Okay. And when we think about this whole concept of race and private property being identified along the lines of naming something and claiming something, we that's why we have cities, that we that we have names on. You know, before Europeans decided to put names on places in Africa, them places didn't have no names because it wasn't important. Because everybody in that region understood that that place belonged to everybody.
Everybody.
All right. But
Everybody.
here we go, naming and claiming, understanding, the world, and even in the midst of that, we realize that it is we have now literally reduced church to property ownership, to acquisition, and the occupation of a space for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or if you go to St. Mark in Wichita, 3 hours. All right. Right. I'll tell you. You know, but in the big picture, Kai, what we really have to begin to do is, when we are being, like Juanita has been telling us, that we need to really spend some time, spending some time reflecting on what that really means. Then we get to church. Okay, we get to church, and all of a sudden, we become these doings again.
That's right.
And I'm guilty. I'm
Yeah.
guilty, man. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
we are dismantling the institution as we know it.
Yeah.
All right, we raised a lot of money. We spent that money on building structures, and now I'm gonna tell you what we're getting ready to do. We're getting ready to take our church campus in downtown Houston. We're going to take the sanctuary and turn the sanctuary into a coffee shop by day. All right, open the doors, put a espresso machine in it, coffee shop by day. All right, and a venue by night where all sorts of artistic expressions can literally flourish in that space. And then watch this. All them other buildings, them classroom buildings, y'all ain't learned nothing in. All right. We build them all over the world, all over the country. We done build education buildings and no education takes place. So okay. We build gymnasiums, all right. And no professional athletes have emerged from those gymnasiums. All right, because nobody's allowed to be. But because really they're not open when kids really needed them,
That's
right?
right. That's
So,
right.
but here we go. Here we go.
Wow.
We're going to take all of that. We're going to turn our campus into a boarding school for young people, young adults who have aged out of foster care.
Wow.
And in the process, watch this. We're going to see the manifestation of a multi-million-dollar investment benefit people who literally were put on a prison pipeline,
Yeah.
a cradle to prison pipeline from the moment they were turned over to the state's custody. They determine, not only do they determine how many prison beds are needed by third grade reading scores, they don't tell you, but they look at how many people are aging out of the foster care system, because they know they haven't prepared those individuals for anything other than further incarceration. All right. We're gonna try to defy that along the way, and we're gonna take our building and we're gonna give it a whirl. Guess what? At the end of the day, I've done 3 funerals in the last 10 days. And the one thing I have been reminded of like never before, you ain't got long,
That's right.
and you better do something with it.
That's right.
Because
Amen.
at the end of the day, if
Amen.
you're doing something thinking that you are going to be able to take this with you, I guarantee you won't.
Wow. Wow. Wow, this is so refreshing. Rude, I want you to mention the book. Rude's got a book out, but I want to show Juanita. I gotta share this. This is one of our dear members, Donna Hodges, and I don't have to say. She'll tell you, Juanita. I've been to the hospital. Thank you for giving me hope.
That's good.
God bless you. You have spoken to me tonight. That's you, Donna. We love you. Thank you for listening in, sister. And we're all praying for you. It was so good to see you on Sunday. And then, Juanita, I wanted you to see this, Samaria Powell, who's one of our young adults that we are nurturing. And as a matter of fact, Rudy, one of my things is that as we continue to gather in the folks want to continue to gather in our building, by the end of the year, when folks show up at St. Mark, my expectation is that they will see almost nothing but young adult faces.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Doing everything.
Yeah.
Worship, preaching, doing the whole thing. And Samaria is one of the young people who's jumped in. And so Samaria, yes, get the book.
Thank you.
So as you evolve in your faith, that you'll do it the right way. And Rudy just said so much. So you all do these two things in terms of helping people to become fully human, but then also helping the church, envisioning the church to become fully human, which is really great. So Juanita, you did the inner work, and then Rudy talked. What he just said basically was taking that same
and placing it in the context of the church.
Exactly. Yes. So how do we make the church collectively become fully human and authentic and transparent? Just a beautiful night. Pastor Yolanda, you want to jump in? I kept calling on Tracy and Kai, and I just knew you were kind of trying to organize thoughts and organize chats and so forth. You want to jump in?
I'm just so full. I mean, I was impressed the first time that I met.
No, we can hear you. Can you all hear? Okay. All right. Something happened there. So thank you all. So Rudy, give the information one more. You all give the information one more time. Yolanda's coming back on. Yolanda, when you get back on. So Rudy, let's talk about the book real quick. Sure.
The book is entitled "I'm Black, I'm Christian, I'm Methodist." It is
Look at Kai laughing, man.
That's right. So people ask me, so what does being Methodist have to do with anything, especially as it relates to Christianity? And what happened? This white supremacist heteropatriarchy that literally has dominated religious talk space. This evangelical movement over the last 4 years, in complete silence, while the while the world is shifting on its axis, and then this strange kind of racialized capitalism that has just kind of filled the space as well. You put all of that together, and here we are in the United Methodist Church, a mainline denomination. Watch this though, with the largest pension fund of any religious organization in the world.
Yeah.
At last count, the pension fund was worth almost $50 billion for preachers who are retiring. Now you take that and you take $1 trillion plus worth of real estate owned or controlled by this denomination, and now we're in the midst of disintegration as a denomination, and why? Because the white supremacist heteropatriarchy has decided that they would rather blow it up before they share it.
Wow.
All right. So here we are. So this book is from me and 9 other writers. We came together during the pandemic. Each wrote, all are Black, all are pastors in the Methodist Church, and all wrote out of their experience as Methodist clergy. or Methodist, period. And boy, you're talking about an interesting read. I tell people pick up the book and start in the 10th chapter, where Dr. Vance P. Ross really lays out about 12 realities of Methodism that must change as it disintegrates. And then read through it. There are voices. Dr. Pamela Lightsey writes from an LGBTQIA perspective. Dr. Tori Butler writes from a young Black female clergy perspective. Dr. Rodney Graves writes from a older male clergy perspective. Just it's a really great compilation of thoughts and ideas, and it will for those of you who are even in any aspect of church life, the essays will challenge your sensibility around church and why you have anything to do with it. So yeah, it's just good to be a part of the project. My doctoral research was on Black millennial culture's intersection with religion. Just for those of you watching tonight, I am really considered one of the world's oldest millennials. For those of you who, that's right. And at 64, I was, I act like I was born in 1988. And all is well. But just good hanging out with y'all tonight, man. It's just good
It's been
being
great
with you, and I love y'all. It's my new friend. Thanks for hanging out with Robert. Be sure to remind him about that damn trombone. Tracy J, Tracy J, you have been missing at the coffee shop, and I'm gonna be looking for you before the end of the week. And know that Robert, you and Linda, you have a dear place in our hearts. And if your dad is watching, Brother Johnson, man, I love you, and it's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Amen. Wow. Great stuff. What an amazing night. So I like the vision cast. We want to have Juanita back at some point and do a fuller deal. So we should do a whole women's conference on the book, do a Saturday and have multiple sessions. We can do it virtually. So Juanita doesn't have to travel. We've learned how to do that. That's one of the benefits of COVID is we've learned how to use this technology now.
I'm here to tell you.
So we'll work on that. And then Rudy, I'd like to do an online conversation with you and the authors of the book where we come on and we spend a day and invite pastors, invite folks, Black Methodists to come on and we do some conversations around that. So I will follow up with both of y'all on that. Yeah.
Count us in.
Absolutely. All right. Frank Guidry, by the way, our good friend Frank Guidry out of Texas Conference says hello and says he just finished Dr. Graves' chapter. So hello, Frank. What's going on, brother? Thank you for tuning in. I know you have your own thing you're doing on Wednesday night, as Rudy and Juanita do as well. But thank you all for sharing your Wednesday night with St. Mark. Linda Sims, again, thank you, one of our prayer warriors at St. Mark, who's digging in. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. So we prayed it all as well as with Pastor Yolanda. I know she's been having some challenges health-wise, but we're praying for her. And so, folks, next week we will not do Ignite next week because we'll be on Thursday night for Monday, Thursday, a brief Monday, Thursday celebration. Kyron Greene is going to bring a devotional message for us. And as you all know, Kyron is always great. And St. Mark, we love him, and we're glad he's embraced us. Hopefully there'll be some more embracing. We envision more like a bigger and then a good friend and mentor, Kirby John Caldwell, will be on with us on Good Friday. Looking forward to an amazing message from him on Good Friday as we think about the crucifixion. Then, St. Mark, you all know we will officially reopen on Easter Sunday with restricted seating. We're only allowing 250. We'll do 2 services on Easter Sunday, 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. You got to wear a mask. We'll check your temperature. I know that they've relieved the mask mandate here in Sedgwick County, but we're sticking with the mask. We're continuing to wear the mask, but we're going to do that on Easter Sunday, and we're looking forward to an awesome Easter celebration. And then we're going to launch from Easter Sunday. The following week, we'll launch a new series on people skills, relationships, talking about relationships and lessons from Jesus about relationships. So we're looking forward to that. By the way, I want to thank all of you who volunteered to help us. We were able to get 115 people vaccinated on the campus at St. Mark yesterday. I want to give thanks for Shawan Jackson and Tina Johnson for leading the charge on that. They did an awesome job. The folks from the health department, I want y'all to know this, St. Mark. The folks from the health department says the setup was immaculate and everything flowed well, and that St. Mark did an awesome job, and they were so glad we did that. And then my last announcement, we are continuing to provide COVID testing Monday through Thursday. Call back. You got to make an appointment. But you do the saliva testing. It's not that you don't have to stick the stick up into your brain. All you got to do is spit in a tube, and we'll deliver that bad boy, and you get your results back within 24 hours, really 12 hours. And it's 96% accurate. And you can do that at St. Mark Monday through Thursday between the hours of 10 and 3 p.m. God bless you all. Thank you all so much. Juanita, will you close us with whether you want to speak a blessing or just give a final word or prayer, however you want to close it.
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask all of us if we're able to sit up tall and straight in our seats. And if you're able to put your feet flat on the floor, and if you can, turn your hands palm side up and rest them on your thighs. And I invite you to take a deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth as though you're blowing through a straw. Breathing in deeply and fully, noticing the cool air coming into your nostrils. And on the exhale, notice the warm air exiting your mouth. Breathing in God's light and love. And exhaling deeply and fully all thoughts that no longer serve you. Just let them go. Breathing in, noticing what you're noticing. Exhaling deeply and fully. Continue to breathe. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks and praise. We thank you for the breath of life that you breathe in us. We ask God for those who need healing today, that as they breathe in, you would increase your healing power and that it would flow freely through every cell, every organ, and that there would be healing and restoration, not only in the body, but in the mind. We give you thanks for drawing us together, because surely it was your idea that we would come together tonight in this way. We give you thanks. We ask that you would continue to bring healing to our world and to our nation, that we might remind one another of the compassion that you invite us to offer our neighbor. Be present in the healing of the racial tension and bias and xenophobia in our nation. God, we need you. We ask that you would bring a quick relief to COVID-19 and the ways that it is causing distress for so many. Lord, we need you. God, for those who are finding the socialization, the lack thereof, to be a concern, Lord, we need you. Now, God, we give you thanks for every breath that you are allowing to flow freely through us. We ask, God, that you would quiet our anxious hearts, bind up our wounds, and that you would heal our brokenness. This is our prayer, and we pray it in the matchless name of Jesus, our ever-living Savior, our teacher, our comforter, and our beloved friend. Amen.
Amen.
And
Amen.
amen.
Amen. Thank you, sis.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us tonight. It's been great to be with y'all, Tracy and Kai, Pastor Robert and Linda in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah. And one more time, just again, those of you that were here at the beginning, we want to encourage you to go to breadoflife.org, look at the wonderful work that's going on, and post this fire that happened on Monday. We want to encourage you to send a gift that way, and be generous, and trust God with your resources. God bless you all. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next week on Thursday night for Monday, Thursday with our special guest speaker, Greene. God bless. Have a great night. Juanita, thank you so much. Tell Rudy, give Rudy our love and tell him thanks as well.